Hello and welcome to episode 4 of From the Top Rope, presented by Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox, and with me is my tag team partner, Jared Carrabis. What's going on, man?
What's up, Robbie? You got me hooked on this New Japan shit. I gotta say, and we're gonna get into it, but I just want to say that right off the top. I mean, I was totally dreading the whole aspect, the angle that you wanted to go with, being like, yeah, it's not just gonna be WWE. We're gonna get into some other shit, and I started sweating because I was like, I don't know this other shit, but you've held my hand through this process, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
I'm very glad. I got a lot of tweets this weekend from listeners that they were saying, man, because this weekend was New Japan on Access, so a lot of people had, no pun intended, but more access to it than they ever have. You could just turn on your TV, find the channel, and it was on, cable television. So a lot of people were like, oh, I'll give this a shot. Robbie and Jared will probably talk about it. And then I got tweets after the events like, holy shit, like I just subscribed to New Japan World. That was so awesome. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I set out to do. Like that couldn't have worked out better. So we can get right into it with New Japan. Let me just say real quick, you can, of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're at From the Top. I think starting this week, we got a guy doing gifts for us during Raw and SmackDown, so that's very exciting. We've been looking for one for a while. We got our guy. And, of course, leave a rating and review on iTunes. That's the most important thing for us. If you can go to iTunes, From the Top Rope, find us. If you're listening to us on iTunes now and you haven't left a rating and review, got to do that for us. That's big.
And subscribe.
And subscribe, of course. I mean, you're going to have to know when our new episodes come out, be the first to get it by subscribing. But back to New Japan. They had their G1 and USA special this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was on TV, or was it? It was Friday and Saturday, I think. Friday was on TV, and then Saturday was on New Japan World. And they had a tournament to crown the first ever United States champion. They had some awesome tag team matches. They had a huge title match the first night, Cody Rhodes versus, or just Cody, I suppose, versus...
The artist formerly known as Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
Yeah, called him.
Versus Okada. It was 2 nights of awesome wrestling. Like, Raw and SmackDown, they were okay this week, but New Japan this weekend was just absolutely phenomenal all the way through. I was like, this is why I love wrestling, basically. What were your highlights as someone that isn't super into New Japan?
All right, so first, I'm going to ask you to guess what you think my number one takeaway was from watching New Japan this past weekend.
I think you're going to say that, like, Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world.
No, well, it's up there. It's definitely up there. It's that JR still fucking has it.
Oh, that's not a popular opinion, pal.
Yeah, I understand that, but he still has it. Like, I'm sitting there listening to JR, and all due respect to Jerry the King Lawler, but you can tell that there was a gradual fall off with his commentary over the years. But with JR, it's like, he'll come back at WrestleMania every now and then to do like the Undertaker matches, and those kind of seemed like he was reaching, to the well for like the vintage JR. I was watching these matches and it was like, wow, like this is really like, it gives me that almost like nostalgic feel, but also it's like a new feel. Like it's almost like his passion for the business is sort of reborn by being able to call New Japan matches. And you know what? If that's an unpopular opinion, suck my dick. That's my opinion.
Dude, it couldn't be more unpopular. So I sent you some of the matches. I sent you all the key matches to watch. Now, I will say he was really good. Like, the whole main event of the weekend was Kenny Omega versus Tomohiro Ishii, and that was for the first ever United States champion. I will say JR was fucking awesome in that match. He was so good. He added to the match. They did the crazy, like, dragon suplex table spot. JR had an awesome call of it. A lot of the early, like, 10-man tags, 8-man tags, JR couldn't have been worse as a commentator. He was messing up names. He didn't know who was who. There was the night 2 was Young Bucks versus Roppongi Vice, and I was watching it with a friend of mine, and I really wanted to watch it with Japanese commentary. That's my thing. It's just my thing. So I really wanted to, but he was like, "Come on, JR's calling it. Like, let's listen to JR." And I was like, "Okay." And there were some moments in that match where I felt like JR was almost breaking the fourth wall because he didn't like it. Like, they would do a super kick followed by, the person that just got super kicked would hit a clothesline or something and kind of no sell the super kick. And there were moments where JR would be like, "Oh, super kick. I suppose it wasn't that effective." And he was like, he was just getting real mad about it. What was it? Oh, Marty Scurll did his finger break spot where he does like he makes the crowd get all quiet and he snaps the finger of his opponent. And JR goes, "Well, joint manipulation's illegal, but I suppose the referee didn't see it." And it was just like, oh, JR's not a fan of these matches going on right now. It was breaking my heart. Like, oh, these matches are so good, JR. Come on. So what did you think of night one's main event, Cody Rhodes versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Championship?
Yeah, so watching this match, even without seeing any promos for it or any build to it, you watch that match and you can just tell that it has that big fight feel, and they
Yep.
know how to tell a story. Like from the one moment that stands out wasn't even a wrestling move. It was Cody Rhodes spitting in his face. Like
Yeah.
that's just, you don't see that type of stuff on like the WWE product anymore, where it's personal. I mean, there are a lot of matches in WWE these days where they're going through the motions and it's like, you get your shit in, I'll get my shit in. Maybe there's a twist at the end, maybe there's not. Maybe it's a predictable ending and then the crowd boos us out of the building and that's it. There's never anyone getting booed out of the building for performance or for booking in New Japan. It's just every single match is just like, yes, this is what we came to see.
Yeah.
And I just go back to the storytelling. Even in like the Kenny Omega match, you referenced the spot with the table, going through the table from the apron.
Mm-hmm.
That was just like good storytelling. Even in a microcosm of the match, the storytelling of just the process of before going through the table, there was just like this struggle. Like, it's just stuff.
It was such a struggle, and he held on with his teeth. Like when
Yes.
Kenny got both of his hands out, he had his teeth on the ropes, biting the rope. Like, I do not want to go through this table right now. Oh,
Right.
that spot was amazing. That might have been the spot of the weekend.
And for those listeners that are just WWE fans, I'm going to say the same thing that I said the last time that we talked about a New Japan card, and that's that the storytelling is just unmatched. Like,
Yep.
It's just the storytelling in the build up to the matches and in the matches themselves are just unparalleled in pro wrestling today.
I agree. And my friend that I watched it with isn't a huge New Japan fan. He's like a massive wrestling fan, like you and me are. But he doesn't love New Japan. He doesn't love the strong style. He's like, these guys are probably just concussing themselves. Like, they're beating the shit out of each other. Because New Japan, it does have the reputation for the workers being extra stiff, and that reputation's true. Like, Kenny Omega hit the top rope drop kick in the Ishii match where he just kicked him right in the back of the fucking head. It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ. But he said after Omega and Ishii, he was like, that's match of the year. He's like, that was my like 5-star match of the year. He was blown away. I think a lot of people were blown away, and New Japan immediately announced like they're reopening the Los Angeles dojo, which is where Daniel Bryan and Rocky Romero, who was our guest last week, they kind of got their start. It's kind of a wrestling school, kind of like mixed with an MMA school, mixed with a place to live. It's a weird vibe, but they're reopening the Los Angeles dojo. They're planning on like a full tour of America in 2018. They're planning like a New Japan American office. The shows couldn't have been a bigger success in like their eyes, in the fans' eyes. Nobody went home disappointed. Even night 2, they had Billy Gunn versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, and everyone was like, Tanahashi's the fucking man. We don't want to see him wrestle Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn's 52. That match even was just a fun match where it was like they really did the best they could with what they were given, and fans going into that were like booing Billy Gunn out of the building. They're like, we don't want to see you. Why did they make this match? By the end of it, the fans were so into it. Tanahashi hits the high fly flow. They're counting along 1, 2, 3, going wild. It was just like the stars aligned and everything went right for New Japan.
Who is the Vince McMahon of New Japan, or is there like a board of decision makers over there?
There's kind of there's more of a board than there is for WWE, but Gato, who is Okada's manager, the guy with the bandana over his eyes pretty much, he's like the booker of New Japan.
Gotcha.
So
when is the last time that not just you, but the general consensus was that they got it wrong?
New Japan?
Yeah.
Like, a really long time ago. Like, fans are very, always very pro New Japan. Like, I can't remember. So I guess the last time that there was like a huge outrage was Naito, who is like pretty beloved now by like American fans as a great heel. He's super hated by Japanese fans because he's a disrespectful heel. He was the one that had the match against Tanahashi at Dominion. He was kind of hot-shotted like Roman Reigns, and the fans had a big backlash a few years ago. And New Japan handled it well, and they pretty much immediately turned him heel and made him this like, hey, fuck you. If you don't like me, like, you can go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And he was supposed to main event Wrestle Kingdom the year that they hot-shotted him, much like Roman Reigns main evented WrestleMania 31. But they saw the fans weren't happy, and they said, okay, we'll put it up to a vote. Do you want the IWGP Championship to main event, or do you want the IWGP Intercontinental Championship to main event? And it was like an 80-20, we want the Intercontinental Championship to main event. So that's what they did.
So they actually, look at that. They listened to their fans.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fucking incredible. Look at that. What a model to set for the rest of the professional wrestling world.
Yeah, it was, and now he's like one of the best heels in the wrestling world. He comes out in the full tuxedo. He throws titles everywhere. He like broke their title. He takes forever to get in the ring. He just doesn't give a shit. And he's like one of my favorite heels. I feel like they should have done that with Roman a long time ago. And there's, you could still do it because the fans still don't like him. But now it's getting to the point where it's hard to be a heel in wrestling if you're a really good wrestler, because fans will like just take notice and appreciate it.
Right.
And it's kind of happened with John Cena, where the smarks that hated him are now like have since come around to him, and they're like, when he won his title against AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble, there was like a massive pop because people were just like, that match was fucking awesome. John Cena's the man. And that's gonna happen with Roman sooner or later, probably later than sooner, but I mean, he's just so good.
I'm glad that we're both pro Roman guys.
So pro Roman. We had Raw and SmackDown this week, less eventful than New Japan, but neither of the shows were bad necessarily. Raw was the go-home show to Great Balls of Fire. And, of course, Great Balls of Fire is on my birthday on Sunday, so this will be the last podcast you ever have to record with an 18-year-old. That's nice.
That's a positive for
me. Mm-hmm. Yep. Enzo had one of the best promos of his life on Raw about Cass.
Yep.
He came out, and it was finally, and I say finally, it's been a few weeks, so they're kind of hot-shotting this, but he is no longer apologizing for being who he is, and he's saying, all that shit that happened to me, all that shit that you're saying that I was bad for happened while you were supposed to have my back. And he said, you're nothing but a 7-foot catchphrase that I made up, which is like an all-time line by Enzo.
It is.
I thought it was an awesome promo. This promo blew me away pretty much, and the crowd was kind of shitty, and they didn't really react to it.
Right. Well, because he came back. I think like they reacted to like the original promo, but then when he left the ring and came back, it was like PS, and then like kept going.
Yeah.
Like they didn't react to the PS so much. But were you surprised that they booked this match for Great Balls of Fire instead of continuing the build for a SummerSlam payoff?
I wouldn't say surprised is the word. I would say disappointed.
Well, because didn't they just add this match to the card on Monday?
Yeah.
So it was like I don't know, I guess it makes sense to have it now, but if you're going to break up the most popular tag team that you've had in a long, long time, I just feel like the payoff should be SummerSlam. And I'm sure that they still will have a match at SummerSlam. But I just feel like the build to it should just be the one-off at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I don't like the WWE's pay-per-view model of them feeling like there has to be like rematches all the time, and there can't just be one match now, like a one-off for a big feud. They're doing Orton and Jinder for the third time at Battleground. Nobody wanted to see that the first time. Less people wanted to see it the second time, and like even less people wanted to see it the third time.
Right.
I'm kind of interested though, because Punjabi prison,
That's what they needed to do to save it.
Yeah. And I don't even know if it's saving that. I just want to see like the Singh brothers take ridiculous bumps off the bamboo. Yeah, great promo by Enzo. Kind of disappointed that they're going to do this at Great Balls of Fire. It worries me that they just won't do it at SummerSlam. They'll have Cass kill Enzo, and that'll be that. We'll preview that. We're doing a Great Balls of Fire preview right before our interview. Oh, by the way, Pat McAfee's on the show this week.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that at the start. You probably saw it when you clicked on the episode, though. So there you go. Pat McAfee's on the show. Great interview. Stay tuned. On SmackDown, John Cena returned. Oh, on Raw, just we got to touch on it. They had a Braun Strowman versus Apollo Crews match, and Apollo Crews went to do his standing moonsault on Braun Strowman, and he just mule kicked him across the entire ring. It was
landed on
amazing.
his fucking head.
He did. I thought he broke his neck. It was like,
like you know how like Raw will do the slow motion replays,
Yeah.
and it'll be like slow motion, and then it speeds up at the end, so you
Mhm.
can't actually see the effects of the impact. They usually do that to disguise what actually happened. They shouldn't have done that on this particular replay because he really did land on his fucking head.
yeah.
So, like, I don't know. And the other thing too that I noticed once that happened was I don't know if it was Corey. I think it might have been Corey Graves. Someone was like laughing. It's like I know that you have to stay in character.
I think
as
it was
part of,
Booker
like,
T.
Was it? Like,
Yeah.
part of like the commentary team, you have to stay in character when something like that happens. But he really did land on his fucking head. And like, I don't know. If I would just be so uncomfortable being like, ha ha, at a guy that just could
Yeah.
potentially be paralyzed and you don't know.
Booker T is a guy where I really appreciate him on commentary for his enthusiasm at times, because I feel like a lot of commentators now are just too up, and we'll be right back as Raw rolls on. And it's like, there's just no enthusiasm behind a lot of commentary nowadays. And Booker T has that sometimes. Sometimes it just backfires, though. And Booker T's like, dude, you got to chill out. They did something with Miz and Slater, and like Slater went for a good pinfall, and like the crowd was buying it as, holy shit, Heath Slater's about to beat the Miz. And Booker T's just going, that's a weak pinfall right there. That's not going to do it. And it's like, come on, man. Everyone's buying it. Like, be a mark for a second. John Cena returned on SmackDown. He's a free agent now, so he'll probably flip-flop a little bit. But
How do you feel about that promo?
I thought it was a good promo. I think John Cena is a great promo, and, whenever he's serious, like, I'll dig it.
It was a good promo. Like, it was delivered well, but the message to me is it's not true. Like, he's out there basically saying, I'm not a part-timer, this and that. I'm here to kick ass, and I'm John Cena, and I'm not a part-timer, I'm an all-timer. And it's like, yeah, you are an all-timer, but you are also a part-timer.
Yeah,
like,
he is the definition of a part-timer.
Yes.
I liked the actual line of, like, I'm an all-timer, because, like, he is, and it's like,
He is.
fuck yeah, that's an awesome line. But also, you're a part-timer.
Yes, like that's not even disputable.
Your last
And
match was at WrestleMania, dude, and you went off to film American Grit or something. Is that his TV show, or is that True
Yeah.
Grit?
It's American
Jeff Bridges
Grit.
movie?
Yeah.
It's like he's a part-timer, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're 40. You've given your life to the business. For the past 10 years, this company has run off of you, just like Barstool runs on Duncan. Little shout-out there. That was
Little
nice.
shout-out.
That was
I like
nice.
that. Good segue there.
But it's like there's nothing wrong with you being a part-timer. Fans understand it. You're 40. Your body's breaking down. It makes you more special to be a part-timer, to come back for these big matches. Does it make it more special when he comes back to have a feud with Rusev? I don't know. I'm a big Rusev guy. Are you a Rusev fan?
Yes and no. I feel like he's one of those guys that hasn't really hit his stride yet. Like
I thought he
feel like-
did. I thought he was really, really, really good before the John Cena feud.
Well, the United
Initially.
States Championship thing, like that was a good run for him. But he should have went over Cena at WrestleMania. Like it made
Yeah.
no sense for Cena to just end his unbeaten streak and take the US. I mean, it's because John Cena and he has to have his WrestleMania moment. But there were a few guys that Cena just halted at WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt's the other one. Should have went over Cena
Rusev got
at
it worse than
WrestleMania.
anyone, though, because if you remember correctly, he beats him at WrestleMania, which I was like, okay, we'll have the happy moment. John Cena wins the United States title. Then he beat him at the next pay-per-view. Then he beat him at the next pay-per-view. Then he beat him at the next pay-per-view. Rusev did not have to lose 4 pay-per-view matches in a row. And I remember after the third one, I was like, all right, at least this is over now. And then they cut to Rusev backstage. He's like, I demand an I quit match. And it was like, no! What are you, a fucking idiot? He just beat you 3 times, dude. Now you want an I Quit match? You're gonna have to verbally I quit on
Mr.
pay-per-view?
Never Give Up.
Yeah, it's like, do you
He
think
doesn't give up.
John Cena legitimately hasn't tapped out in like 13 years since Kurt Angle tapped him out when he was like the doctor of thugonomics? Do you
Yeah.
think he's gonna look a referee in the eyes and say, "Yeah, I give up"?
Yeah.
No,
Like,
dude.
what would that do for his merch sales?
His merch sales would go down the drain. He would be
No one's
he would be a
buying a
fraud.
Never Give Up shirt from a dude that just gave up.
It's I don't like that they're doing this feud with Rusev because I'm afraid that it's just gonna like we're bringing Rusev back from injury for John Cena to go over him to build to like what? Like, is he gonna do a match at Battleground against Rusev and then have a high profile match at SummerSlam? Are they gonna do this at SummerSlam?
Jinder.
Ugh. I mean, ugh. Does
How
he really have to break Ric
anticlimactic
Flair's
would
like record
John
off
Cena
Jinder?
winning that record-breaking title against Jinder fucking Mahal?
That makes me upset just thinking about it. I hope, and I'm not hopeful because I don't think this is the case, but I would hope that John Cena is coming back saying, "Hey, I should have put you over a few years ago. Let's do it now. Better late than never."
That is wishful thinking, my man. that is not.
I'm just gonna
fucking
keep
happening.
lying to myself. I'm just gonna keep lying to myself. And I love Cena. I would put Cena probably in my top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time. In my favorite wrestlers of all time, I might go Daniel Bryan, Shawn Michaels, John Cena. I would like put him in that echelon, but like, dude, you don't have to go over Rusev right now. You're a part-timer and it's 2017.
No, and Rusev is stale right now. Like, you could have had his comeback actually mean something, but now he's basically being fed to John Cena so that John Cena can look strong after taking time off to do TV, and then he can come back and say that he's not a part-timer even though he's a part-timer. So now Rusev has to suffer because John Cena is not a part-timer even though he is.
There were some rumors initially that Jinder's current push was meant for Rusev, and I wish it was. I think Rusev we've seen like is very capable of having good matches. He's funny on the mic. Like, he actually has some charisma. If he was, I wouldn't have any issue with it if he was the WWE champion. I would probably enjoy it.
I didn't see anything about Rusev being the guy who was supposed to get the push. I thought I read something like, Vince just needed a foreign heel, and Jinder took that spot.
Yeah, it's
kind of the
crazy
same
that's
thing,
still
but-
that's still like a mindset. Like, oh yeah, let's get a foreign guy in here.
Yeah.
Goddamn, pal. So you wanted to bring this up, and I think we might have differing opinions on it. What do you think of the new SmackDown Women's Championship? Naomi inspired. It's glowing up.
I fucking hate it. I don't like it. I'm not a big Naomi fan. I think I think Naomi is basically like almost like the women's version of Roman Reigns, where they just handpicked who they wanted to be the top of like the title picture in that division. And I don't know, it's just like they gave her a gimmick, like, look, oh, she dances and it lights up, and now like the title lights up, and I don't know, it came out of nowhere. I think that her promos are awkward. Like, I usually, I just don't buy them. Like when like someone like Carmella, when she delivers a promo, you can get into Carmella as a character, isn't like she actually believes that she's Carmella. Like, what is Naomi supposed to be? Because when I look at Naomi as someone who, admittedly, I watch Total Divas, I do.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
too.
I know Naomi the person. I mean, obviously they're characterized versions of their real selves on that show too, but when I watch Naomi the wrestler, all I see is Naomi the person from Total Divas who's super excited that she's in this position. And like, you can just, there's nothing wrong with being excited. Like, you should be, like, you're the fucking SmackDown Women's Champion, but it's just, she smiles too much, and like, she can't be serious, and she's giggling a lot. And it's just like, I look at her wrestling character as the real life person acting like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. When it's like, all right, like, it is happening. Get into character and like just sell it that way. But I just don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
I like Naomi. I'm a Naomi fan. I'm not particularly a fan of her material since WrestleMania. I think the build up to WrestleMania, I think she was so organic and so good, and it was like She got injured, so she had to give up the title, and then it was a chase to get it back from Alexa. I thought that stuff was really good, and then, like, everything after WrestleMania hasn't really done it for me. Love her title. I think the title looks awesome.
too.
I think it's, like, during her entrance, I think it's super, like, cool to see the title like that. It makes me think it's going to be on her for a while, because I feel like they wouldn't, deck the title out if she was going to drop it soon. But, yeah, Naomi's material recently hasn't been good. I won't sit here and lie and say it has been.
Yeah.
But I think she's really good in the ring, and I think she had a pretty organic rise, like WrestleMania-wise.
Oh, yeah, definitely not a knock on her in-ring ability. It's more just the character. I'm not a fan of the character because I don't think that it is a character. I think it's just the actual person who's just overexcited all the time. It just bothers me.
No fun allowed.
Yeah.
So we had a rap battle hosted by Wale
Yes.
on SmackDown, and it was awesome. It was between the New Day and the Usos. And Wale is, like, sneaky one of the biggest wrestling fans ever. He is, like, a friend of Dave Meltzer. He does Wale Mania every year in whatever city WrestleMania's in. I sat right behind him at a wrestling show a few years ago.
Really?
At NXT San Jose. It was, like, the first big show NXT ever ran. And it was WrestleMania weekend. It was the show that apparently convinced Vince McMahon that women's wrestling is, like, worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because Sasha and Charlotte had a match on that show that was, like, outstanding. The show went to, like, 2 a.m. It was
Really?
they booked it weird, and they, like, were adding matches to the show. It wasn't televised. It was like a house show. And apparently Vince was just like Triple H walked up to Vince. And he's like, dude, like, we're gonna have to cut, like, all of these matches. We're gonna go super late. And Vince was like, goddamn, pal, just keep it running. It's a good show. So, like, I sat right behind Wale, and Frank the Clown was next to him, who seemingly
Have you met Frank the Clown?
I mean, kind of. I've been in the vicinity with him. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not going to sit here and knock the guy for no reason.
Yeah.
I mentioned on Twitter last night that Frank the Clown wouldn't leave Wale alone at that show, and he didn't. He took offense to that. Frank the Clown responded, and he was like, I want to like you because I'm a longtime stoolie, but this is a blatant lie or something. And I was like, I didn't even acknowledge him because I was like, buddy, sorry.
I feel like he has rabbit ears. I feel like he searches Frank the Clown
Oh,
on
of
Twitter
course.
to see if
Of
people are talking about him.
course.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Not a huge Frank the Clown fan. Maybe he'll win me over one day. Not
Maybe we'll have him
not a
on.
Holy Foley fan either. Holy Foley is maybe the worst product of all time.
I tried to buy into that. I tried.
I did one episode, ironically, like, let me see how bad this is, and it was so bad that I was like, I literally can't even do another one. So the rap battle was really good. The Usos murdered the New Day. Like, if you would have told me a year ago, the Usos and the New Day are going to have a segment hosted by Wale where they're going to rap battle, I would be like, oh no, that'll be career suicide for the Usos. Like, the New Day will just absolutely destroy them. Nope, couldn't be further from the truth. The Usos, they blew me away. They were so good.
They were good, but I mean, obviously the moment of the night, not even just the battle, the moment of the night came from it was on the Usos side.
I got the clip. I could play it.
All right, please do.
I'm gonna play the clip here.
PG, you know what's good. Just don't get all rated R like your boy Xavier Woods.
Oh.
I mean, we're talking about sex, folks.
We're over here talking about sex tapes. We're talking about banging British women on couches. We're talking about crouching rogue referees, filming sexual positions. This is a PG show, folks, but we're making reference to it. And by the way, we didn't have the podcast up and running at the time. This is not the first time that they've referenced the sex tape on
No, it is
WWE
not.
programming.
No,
There
it
was
is not.
I think it was like the week after. It might
Yeah,
have been
it
the
was.
week after where I think it was like Xavier Woods was just like posing in different positions that Brad Maddox was when he was holding the camera for the sex tape.
Well, Big E also said it was the week after, and I think it was in Brooklyn because I was at the show, and I remember I saw the New Day backstage, and they were like getting ready to film it, and I was like, all right, let me like just stand here and watch them film this. And the segment begins with like just a close up of Xavier Woods, and Big E goes, "Do you have anything you want to say to the people?" And he's like, WrestleMania, the ultimate thrill ride is it? And it just went into that, and it was just very.
Yeah.
It was a subtle reference, but it was all you had to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I really feel bad for Paige that we're bringing this up again, but seeing her ringside in a luchador mask at Slammiversary, because apparently she has to be in the front row taking videos and pictures of Alberto Del Rio as if like everyone else isn't doing that, made me really hate her. I think she's very immature. She kind of can be immature. She's like 22 or something, but I mean,
she's definitely immature. If you're fucking 22 years old and like she's that girl in high school that just rips through like a bunch of boyfriends, and every single boyfriend she's in love with, and it's the love of her life, and she's posting away messages on AIM about her fucking the love of her life, but the initials change every other week because it's a different fucking guy. And now she's in love with Alberto.
Couple, the whole couple is like the worst, most insufferable. I've never hated a relationship more than I hate their relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you must be. I mean,
I feel bad for her too, because I feel like there's something wrong with her if she's if she thinks it's. I mean, maybe if she thinks that like that is an okay relationship to be in. I think he's married to her, and he's married to his ex-wife. It's like, what are we doing here? Your career was, you had such a bright future. It's over.
Yeah. It really is. But I mean, like, you know, as we've seen, there is life after WWE now. There are other options that are viable and make sense for, you know, pro wrestlers. But yeah, Paige really had it made, and she threw it all away for fucking Alberto Del Rio, and you know, it doesn't look like she regrets it at all.
No, it does not look like she regrets it in the slightest.
Which is sad.
It is sad. It's a whole sad situation. SmackDown was main evented by a battle royal with final three came down to Ty Dillinger, Sami Zayn, and AJ Styles. The whole battle royal was pretty good. I can these kind of get tired for me because it's like nothing happens until we're at the final two or three. And the Royal Rumble is great because you get the surprise entrance, you get people entering one at a time. Sometimes the ring clears out and it's just two people. We have a little mini match. When you start Battle Royal and everyone's in the ring at the same time, it's like a clusterfuck until the final few. Yeah. When it got down to the final few, I thought it was really good, though. Kevin Owens, the face of America, was on commentary. He was awesome on commentary, as he always is. He also has a new DVD out, just to sidetrack for a second. The Kevin Owens story, he kind of talked about it a little bit, teased it when we did an interview with him. I watched it yesterday. As a guy that admittedly is an emotional person, I cry at things. This DVD made me cry like 3 times in an hour. It is one of the best documentaries that they've ever done. It's like a little surreal. I tweeted it. It's a little surreal that like this guy that I've been a friend of for a few years now, I watched a movie about his life yesterday, like produced by the WWE. At the same time, it's not, because I feel like from the first moment I met him, I was like, I mean, this guy's going to be the biggest thing in the world one day. This DVD is I'm going to slap the must watch on it. Like you have to see this DVD.
Are you gonna fucking mail it to me? Actually, I might be in the office on Friday. I'm just gonna take it from you.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Shout out, we might be going to a wrestling show, Madison Square Garden on Friday. From the Top represent. If you're going, say hey to us. So they had the battle royal. AJ Styles wound up winning, last eliminating Sami Zayn. I guess we're doing Styles and KO again.
So, are you okay with that? Because I am.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll never take issue with that. You know that they're going to
put on a quality match. You know that there's history there. You know that there's chemistry there. I mean, put Kevin Owens with any fucking quality worker, and you're going to get an excellent match, especially if it's on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and I think this will help AJ. I felt like they were going to backtrack to this feud again, but I think it'll help AJ get over as a face, because his current face run I don't love. I think his mic work has been really, really, really weak, and his in-ring work really obviously makes up for that. Yeah, it's a weird run, and Kevin Owens will help him get over because he's such a good heel. So, sure.
Is it,
I mean, we're gonna do that.
Is AJ even really a face right now? I feel like he's not.
No, he's like sure
he's very much like a tweener.
I think he's a white meat baby face who's just not very good at it, so he's like coming off as a tweener.
I guess. I mean, he was a legit.
His face turn is also like
showed up though.
Yeah, but his babyface turn was also weird. He just shook AJ, not AJ. he shook Shane McMahon's hand after the WrestleMania match, and that was supposed to be his turn. The company is like, there's been some weird stuff with babyface and heel turns recently. Even Seth Rollins, like him
he's
going from heel to face, it hurt him. And I'm not a huge Seth Rollins fan, as we've discussed many times, but you could have like done the guy better. He got pedigreed by Triple H, and that was supposed to be his face turn. He never like owned up to the shit he did as a heel, or helped out someone that was in trouble. He just got pedigreed, and it was like, well, this bad guy did something to this bad guy, so one of the bad guys have to be a good guy now. It's like, I kind of liked Triple H for that. I was like, fuck yeah, fuck Seth Rollins, he's a heel. And then Kevin Owens gets the pin, and it's like...
Yeah, like he's obviously supposed to be a face, but he doesn't do face-like things. I mean, except for the only other thing that you can kind of point to is when he teams with, like, Ambrose or Reigns.
Yeah, but that pisses me off, too.
Because even
like,
still,
they
it's like,
never really made
we
up.
never forgave each other.
Yeah.
Like,
it was just like, we're both good guys now, so I guess we like each other.
Yeah, like there was no makeup there.
No makeup at all.
Time passed, and I guess that means that all is well.
So let's do a quick preview of Great Balls of Fire this Sunday, July 9th on the WWE Network. We will be coming at you with a Monday show like we did for, what was the last pay-per-view? Money in the Bank. And we'll recap the entire show the day after, get a little more in-depth with the matches and all that. The card is honestly awesome. Like, it's a shitty pay-per-view name. It's a shitty pay-per-view theme, whatever.
Wait, hold on. Let me ask you a question.
The card is top to bottom, amazing.
How many of these matches on this particular card do you think we're going to see again at SummerSlam?
So I don't think we'll see the main event again.
You don't think we'll see Joe and Lesnar again?
No, absolutely not. I think Enzo and Cass. I'm going to say Enzo and Cass and Rollins and Bray. I'm going to say those are the only two. Maybe Miz and Ambrose. But I think they'll like add someone to that match and make it a triple threat.
Why are you so confident about Lesnar and Joe?
Because apparently the SummerSlam plans have changed, and they've hot-shotted next year's WrestleMania main event to SummerSlam, and we're going to get the rematch of Brock and Roman Reigns. Which is very interesting to me. So just looking down the card, on the pre-show, we got Neville versus Akira Tozawa. You're not a cruiserweight guy. I am.
Nope.
This feud has been just horrendous, but these are two of the best workers in the world. I'm a huge Neville guy, huge Tozawa guy. I think this match will be very good. I think putting it on the pre-show actually helps it a lot because the crowd is always hot for pre-show matches, and you don't have to do the lag of like, all right, let's run video packages on the screen so we could tape the ropes purple and change the lights and the canvas, all that. I think being on the pre-show, this match will way over-deliver for a lot of people. Won't change anything because it's, the cruiserweight division is a failure at this point. If I were in charge of making the cruiserweight division matter, I would take it away. I would acknowledge on screen that this was a big failure. I would like have Kurt Angle be like, or Stephanie be like, this did not work out like we meant it to. And I would take 205 Live, and I would continue that show on, I would halt it for a little bit, bring back the Cruiserweight Classic, do a tournament with everyone in the Cruiserweight division, don't sign anyone, and say, we're rebooting the whole division. Cruiserweight Classic Redemption. After that's over, you bring back 205 Live, and you have it in Full Sail. Because that audience loves these workers, and they'll be super over. And the only time people get up to the main roster, don't do a Cruiserweight division. Have people be like, basically like Trent Beretta did in New Japan. Be like, listen, I'm going to move up to the heavyweight division. I'm going to put on some weight. I'm going up to the main roster. That's how to save the division. You're welcome. Send me my royalty
no matter
check.
what. Yeah, because just get rid of the fucking Cruiserweight division. Every week I wait for it to just not be there anymore, and I'm disappointed every week.
It's a failure. And you can have a division without calling it a division. Have these guys feud with each other, but never acknowledge like, oh yeah, and this guy also can't feud with Braun if you wanted to.
Yeah, I want to see Austin Aries and AJ Styles someday.
Yeah.
I can't because he's in the Cruiserweight division.
Yeah, it was handled horribly from the start. Handled perfectly from the Cruiserweight Classic, and since the main roster debut, it's just been the worst. So that's the pre-show match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. We got a 30-minute Iron Man match. It's one of the only gimmick matches on the show with Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardy Boys. I think this will be awesome. I'm a really big Iron Man match guy. as long as they don't do the classic, like, we're going to get 0 falls and go to sudden death. That was really good when they first did it. And then every time after, it's like, do we really have to do sudden death for Iron Man matches? Like,
Every time.
every time. I think that'll be great. I think every match that these people have had has been great.
Who you got in this one?
I think Cesaro and Sheamus. I think they'll retain. And if they want to continue the Hardys as a tag team, they'll get their second big title win since returning at WrestleMania at SummerSlam. That'll be bigger. And if not, you could do some kind of angle where we break them up.
Yep, I'm still with you. I think that Sheamus and Cesaro retain because I don't even think that we do see another Hardy's tag title run because I think that they're very close. Like Matt Hardy keeps teasing on social media that Broken Matt is coming, and I know that you can do that together.
Closer too.
Yeah, you can definitely do Broken Matt and Brother Nero as a tag team. But I don't know. Maybe they do start out as a tag team and then, to at least introduce the characters to the WWE audience. So I don't know. But either way, I still don't think that the Hardys will go over here.
I don't think so either. I think it'll be a great match, though. We got The Miz versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. We've talked about it on the show before. I'm a big fan of this feud. Since Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel have gotten involved, I haven't been a big fan of this feud. Dave Meltzer did a Wrestling Observer Radio, and he called them anchors in quicksand. And I thought that was a very funny and accurate description of Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. I will say this, it adds something to the feud where they'll be ringside, and every match that these guys have had has been pretty different, and they've been able to change things up. So another one where I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think Ambrose goes over?
I don't know. I think Miz probably goes over, actually, because he has Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel now.
If you think that this is going to continue to SummerSlam, then one would assume that Miz would go over.
Yeah, and then I don't know what you do after this, though. Like, you might have to add someone to the match, or I'm really not sure. I would say The Miz is going to retain simply because let's not flip-flop the title like it's nothing.
Yeah, which is what they've been doing for the last year, pretty much.
So we have Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. This is the only match on the show I'm not looking forward to. I saw this match. I saw this match live.
You let your dislike for Seth Rollins cloud your judgment sometimes.
That's not true, dude.
This has been a good feud.
I agree. I agree with that. I think it's been a good feud. I like when Seth Rollins outed himself as an atheist live on Raw. I thought that was very funny. I saw this match live, dude. I saw it at Raw not too long ago on the same Raw that they did Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns 2. This was the main event, and fans were filing out like I've never seen before. It was a horrible match. It was, like, so boring. They were doing Headlock City. Not a good match. So, I have no reason to look forward.
Expectations are very low.
Yes. I saw them have this Raw main event and was not a fan.
When was this?
This was not too long ago. This was right before the last Raw pay-per-view, I think.
So I'm not going to ask you who do you think is going to win. I will ask you who you think needs this win more.
It's a good question. I think Bray needs it more. I think Bray's coming off a worse feud. Rollins just had the Joe feud, which was pretty good. So It's like Bray's coming off the Randy Orton feud, which was horrible.
Not good. And
that has lessened him in a lot of fans' eyes, especially a big fall from becoming the WWE champion this year. So I think Bray needs the win more, but if Rollins goes over, I won't have any issue with it because he also needs a win.
Yeah, I feel like both guys could use it, but I definitely think that Bray Wyatt needs it more. And the whole stink of the House of Horrors match, like, I'm going to keep using them as points of reference because it was so great. But, just like the gimmick matches that came out of the Kane and Undertaker feud, like when you had the Inferno match, which later became the stupid-ass Ring of Fire match.
One of the worst matches of all time.
Terrible. It was an Inferno match without the fucking lighting people on fire.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a Ring of Fire, you got to light some people on fire.
My favorite part of that match is when Luke Harper and Eric Rowan throw the blanket over the fire and they, get in the ring and get involved. Michael Cole has this great call where he's like, "Oh, everybody knows what that is. That's an asbestos mat." And everyone's like, "Wait, what? What the fuck is that?" Nobody knows what that is. And he sold it. It's like, "Oh, obviously that's an asbestos mat. Everyone knows what that is. That prevents fire." And it's like, what?
Of course.
Dude.
The vintage asbestos
Oh,
mat.
of course, the asbestos mat. Everyone's
Classic
favorite foreign
move.
object.
Everyone always keeps one of those in their trunk just in case they have to travel over a ring of fire. Classic.
Yeah. So something they could do, if you want to have Dean Ambrose go over for the IC title, do him versus Rollins at SummerSlam. I'm tired of seeing it. I'll admit it. We haven't seen it in a while. I just want the three Shield guys, I want them as far away from each other as possible. Because since the Shield has broken up, and the Shield has been broken up for longer than they were together at this point, they haven't left each other's side. They're either feuding with each other, or Dean and Roman are tagging, or this, that. If you want to do it and change the dynamic where Rollins is the babyface and have Ambrose kind of turn heel in the match, double turn style, but not really because Rollins is already a babyface, I'd be okay with that. And it's a big match. People will be into it. We have Enzo versus Big Cass. I have an idea for the finish of this match that I think would be very interesting to kind of escalate the whole feud and make it a street fight at SummerSlam. I think the finish of this match should come early on, like in the first 10 minutes. And I think Big Cass should pick up Enzo, kind of look at him like, should I do this? And throw him headfirst into the ropes, knocking him out, quote unquote.
Okay.
And then we could show, in the video package, we could show Enzo actually getting knocked out and Big Cass crying, like shoot crying.
Yeah.
And then show that he doesn't care anymore. And he knocked his old friend out on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, I think in this particular match, we're not going to see a clean finish. I think what could happen, that's a great idea that you just came up with there. I think at Great Balls of Fire, you're going to have a finish where it's Cass just beats Enzo so unmercifully that the referee calls for the bell and Enzo wins by disqualification just because, Enzo is completely defenseless. It's going to be something like that. You're not going to see a clean 1-2-3 pinfall in this match.
I would hope not, because if we do see a clean 1-2-3, it's going to be Cass going over, and then they'll just move him on to a different feud, and Enzo will be done for.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, at least if there's the whole Enzo wins because he just took an ass beating and it wasn't even if Cass just attacks him before the bell even rings and it's not even an official match.
Yeah, I'd be
something
down with
like
that.
Yeah, it's at least you can build off of that to build towards SummerSlam, and it also gives fans more of a rooting interest in Enzo because it's we get the Cass is strong and Enzo's weak, but the way that he went about it was cheap, and it gives more of you a reason to root for Enzo.
Yeah. So looking forward to it, though, because I'm curious. That one, I just don't know what's going to happen, and I like that in wrestling. For the Raw Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss will defend against Sasha Banks. I think this has the potential to be great, especially because these two are stiff as fuck with each other. Every time that they're in the ring together, they beat the shit out of each other, and that's because they legit just don't like each other, and I'm down with that.
I was gonna ask. I didn't know if you had said that on the show or not, or off the air.
I think we said it in preview shows that we did before we got greenlit.
Yeah, so the whole background between Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss not actually liking each other in real life is a. I mean, we can't confirm that. It just feels
allegedly.
That way. Yeah, based on looking at how they work with each other versus how they work with others. You kind of get that sense that maybe there's a little bit of legitimate detest for each other.
Yeah, Sasha allegedly broke Alexa's nose a few times in NXT.
Yeah.
A few times. Roman Reigns will take on Braun Strowman in the only, other than the Iron Man match, gimmick match of the show, and an ambulance match. I think Roman's going to go over here because I think...
How?
I don't think they see Braun losing in an ambulance match as a big deal. So it's not a visual pinfall on him. And if they're going to do Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, he obviously has to win.
That's. I mean, I have the same logic, but for a different ending, I guess. That's why I think that Braun's going to win, because you have, Strowman comes back, this big ass push again, picks up right where he left off as an ass kicking machine. And you can have Roman lose this match, and it's he didn't get pinned. So I think we both have the same logic of why
Yeah.
the other should win. It's because you're not getting pinned. So
I want Braun to win. I will say that. I
yeah,
think he
I
should
think
win.
he's going to. I think he's going to.
I hope so. And the main event, obviously, for the WWE Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe. This is the big one. I'm very much looking forward to this. I think this match is going to be fucking awesome. I think it's going to, we're going to lose that Suplex City formula that Brock Lesnar has been doing. Is he going to hit suplexes? Of course. I think Joe's going to have some combats for him, though, some defenses. And I think it's just going to be a brawl. I think somebody in this match will get busted open the hard way.
You think so?
Yep.
And it usually always is Brock.
It's
too,
Brock. Brock loves just taking things stiff, which is weird because his biggest his detractors in the UFC during his MMA career would be like he just doesn't like getting punched, and that's why he wasn't as successful as he should have been.
Right.
And it's like when he took the curb stomp from Seth Rollins on like some build up to Battleground, I remember he drove his head so hard into the mat. It was like, dude, Seth didn't even touch you. You just like rammed your head into the mat like a lunatic.
Yeah. I mean, he is a fucking lunatic. But I remember like the build for this match has been coming up for, I don't know, over a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And originally, when we first realized that it was going to come together in a pay-per-view title match, there was like this talk about it being a dream match. And I said on this show that I didn't look at it as a dream match. It's definitely a match that I'm looking forward to. But when I said it wasn't a dream match, I got a bunch of listeners tweeting me being like, what the fuck are you talking about? How is it not a dream match? And I was like, well, in my opinion, I think that dream matches are between either two legends or two mega stars.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Joe is either of those things, but winning this match could put him on the path to being one. But like a dream match, I don't really look at that as like, like Joe's had an awesome pro wrestling career. But until you do it in WWE, you can't be a megastar on the indies. So
ooh, that's your WWE mentality kicking in.
I mean, I guess, but like it's like, all right, you look at Nakamura, he comes in
Megastar.
AJ Styles.
Yeah,
too.
megastar.
Yeah. But like to the casual WWE fan, do you think that, the fucking 8-year-old kid sitting in the front row thinks that Nakamura is a megastar?
Maybe because he's been told that, but he hasn't seen his prior work.
Right. So it's
he's just
like,
been
how
told
is
like
he...
the artist formerly known as, or the artist known as whatever the fuck they're calling him, the rock star.
Yeah.
The fucking we're gonna put pyro in his entrance for no reason. Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, I just think that dream match is a bit strong for Brock and Joe.
So do I. I think
it,
dream
though.
match is strong. I think it's gonna be awesome. I think it's gonna be stiff. I think we're gonna see the old pure SO strong style. Joe winning would be a shock. I would be absolutely stunned if Joe won.
You think he's ready?
Oh yeah, I do. I think he had a long NXT title reign. He was good. That would like the rub for. So if Joe wins this match, the rub whoever beats him for the title would be bigger than the one from Brock, I think.
I suppose. Yeah. How did you feel about that promo though? I thought it was a little awkward.
The split screen like Sports Center type thing.
Yes.
I liked it. I like those.
I
like those kind of promos.
But I think it felt awkward because it gave almost like an MMA boxing type feel to it, where it was two guys that were really shit talking each other and like kind of like talking over each other a little bit and genuinely like trying to sound like pro wrestlers cutting a promo, but they're just real guys that are actual fighters. So I guess there was a little bit of a authenticity to it in that sense. But I guess because it's WWE, we just expect scripted, actual, shit talking. But I guess, I don't know. I don't know if awkward is the right word then. It just felt real. If that's the main takeaway, it felt real.
And I'm a big MMA fan, so this whole feud has kind of felt like an MMA type feud in the sense that the one fault, I feel like nobody knows who to cheer for. Nobody knows who's the heel, who's the face. They've kind of flip-flopped week to week.
Yeah.
I think Joe is supposed to be the face. Maybe?
No. I totally get the Lesnar as the face in this one.
Yeah, I guess. But
Like no one is booing.
some people are
Lesnar.
booing Lesnar. It's very confusing. That might be. Listen, we're gonna start a Twitter poll on at From the Top. You're gonna have to vote on who is the face in Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe, because I think the crowd is very confused. I'm very confused. I think you're very confused.
Confused.
It's
Very confusing process.
It's very strange. So real quick, we're going to wrap up with cream of the crop as we do every week. Send these in from the top at barstoolsports.com. That's our email address. Send in your from the top suggestions, because Glow is still in everyone's mind. It's still the biggest show on Netflix. We're going to do our favorite women's wrestler of all time real quick, and then we're going to have an interview with Pat McAfee, longtime wrestling fan and current wrestling trainee under Rip Rogers. So he has a lot of stories from his training, a lot of stories from his childhood. It's a good interview. Cream of the crop this week, favorite women's wrestler of all time. Jared, who you got?
Without question, the answer to this question is Trish Stratus. The first love of my life that I've ever had. I remember, having to go on AOL, the dial-up, just Googling images of Trish Stratus as a 9-year-old boy, just being like, I need to find her, I need to marry her. She's the most amazing woman I've ever seen in my life. And then from just being like eye candy with fucking TNA, and then moving on to actually being one of the top most admired women's wrestlers in history. It was fun to watch the progression of her career in WWE. And I remember it was probably like 2001, 2002, around there. And whenever the wrestlers would come to town, they would always go to the same sports memorabilia place down the street from me. And I met the Dudley Boys for the first time. I've met Bubba a few times now, but this is the first time that I met them. And instead of getting their autograph, I just wanted to go there to yell at Bubba Ray. And I said, "Why did you put Trish Stratus through a table last week?" And he was like, "Because I felt like it." Well, all right.
You're like, oh, dad, you were kind of defending Trish's honor.
Yeah, I was. I was hoping to get some points there. I highly doubt that she knew that I was doing it, but I did it anyway.
So we're going to run into this on Cream of the Crop, but we have the same answer for this one.
Hell yeah.
Trish Stratus is the GOAT. She was, the spark of, we talk about the women's revolution. Trish Stratus, I would go on record in saying that from her debut in the WWE to her last match, she might be the most improved all-around wrestler the company has ever seen. She came in as, look how hot this model is. She's a smoke show. She's at 11 out of 10. And by the end of it, it was like she is having unbelievable matches every time she's in the ring. Her and Lita, that feud was obviously, it's just, there's not a feud like it in
that
in
was like
wrestling.
The Rock Austin.
Yeah, it's so good. I will say this. Bayley and Charlotte and Sasha and Becky, one of those four is going to take over, or Alexa, actually. I'll put Alexa in with them. One of those four is going to take over Trish's position. There's no doubt in my mind, in my head, as my favorite women's wrestler of all time. But it's another case of, I remember going over to my friend Chris's house, and he had this poster of Trish like in a green bikini, like leaning up against lockers. And I was so young, young, to the point where it's like girls have cooties, like that young.
Yeah.
I remember looking at it and being like, I think I like girls. I was like, I think I like girls.
I have it because did you used to? Oh, you might be too young, but the WWF magazine. Did you used to get that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I was a monthly subscriber.
Yeah, so I used to have WWF magazine, and it would have like the threefold poster that would come with every issue, and I used to have a bunch of Trish, a bunch of Lita, and a bunch of Tori Wilson on the wall there. But I remember the Trish one very well, and I wish I still had it. I had
the Trish ones, and then I had a lot of Maria Kanellis ones, and I had some Mickie James ones. Those were my three.
Yeah, so that was like way after me. Like,
yeah,
I
caught the tail end of Trish. I used to play as her at SmackDown Shut Your Mouth against my brother. My brother would always be like, "Can you just pick like we're not doing intergender matches every time?" And I'm like, "I want to play as Trish." She was wearing like the black and blue jumpsuit, and I was like, "She just looks unbelievable in this video game." My brother's like, "Dude, it's a video game. Chill out."
All right, so write this down. Robbie is into anime. Good stuff.
You would think, looking at me, that I'm an anime guy.
Mhm.
All right, coming up, our interview with Pat McAfee, our coworker, our friend, current pro wrestler in training. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, and now joining us from the middle of Ohio, he's currently on a road trip with the entire Barstool Heartland group. This is, I mean, as 4th of July as you could get. Pat McAfee, our coworker, longtime wrestling fan, current wrestling trainee under Rip Rogers. Pat, what's going on, buddy?
Robbie, God, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having us here. This is the best 4th of July I've ever had. I get a chance to be surrounded by my dad and friends, and I get a chance to talk about wrestling. This is fantastic.
I mean, what's more American than professional wrestling?
Chicken wings, Bud Light beer, and then that's about Uncle Sam, the troops, and then right there after that, I think professional wrestling is right there. This is America all wrapped into one, and I'm honored to be part of it.
You forgot guns. Guns should definitely be in there somewhere.
Yeah, guns. You know what to do. I mean, if you think about it, corn. We're staring at a cornfield right now in the middle of Ohio.
Yep, shout out Trent, corn. Yep.
Shout out to corn.
Big corn shout out.
Corn. But wrestling is one of the most American things in the history.
Yeah, and we've done a few episodes of this podcast, and we've had wrestlers on, but we also set out to have some people that are just interested in wrestling and big-time wrestling fans on, and you're kicking that, kind of series off. Why don't you tell us about when you got into wrestling, how you got into wrestling, the start of Pat McAfee, his wrestling dream?
Yeah, I just think whenever we were younger, whenever I was younger, I'm 30 years old now, I got hemorrhoids. I shit my pants the other day. This is what happens when you get older. But when I was younger, Monday Night Wars were gigantic. I mean, it was everything. Nitro versus Raw was huge. I got a chance to really, every Monday night, I just look forward to watching these superheroes in my mind put on live entertainment, a live show that was just awesome. So ever since I was a child, I had a Hulk Hogan stuffed doll. I really just... I've been into it ever since I was I was into it ever since I was a kid, and then when I got into my teenage years, I watched it. When I went to college, I kind of stopped and stopped watching because academics took a precedence over everything. But then once I got back in the NFL, I got back into it. So literally my whole life, I've been a professional wrestling fan, and now I'm getting a chance to wrestle a little bit in my barn with Rip Rogers, and it's just, I think it's a dude soap opera that I really just love everything about. It's drama, it's athletics, it's comedy, it's good story writing, it's romance, it's just everything you could possibly ask and hope for. And if you need an escape, that's what it is. It's the perfect outlet for me. I've always been a gigantic fan.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir with us.
Yeah, definitely. Pat, you're only 2 years older than me. Do you remember the first pay-per-view that you ever watched, or like the first Raw or whatever that you saw?
The first one that just popped in my head right there is when Sable had the hand-painted puppies. I think that's the first one that just popped into my head. I went down the street to my friend Kenny's house. We went to the basement to watch it. I think we were stealing it. That was back whenever you had the little black box where you could get caught stealing pay-per-views. And I just remember Jerry the King Lawler screaming about puppies and the hands down the winner. I think that's really the first moment that I recall of watching a pay-per-view and things like that. But back in the day, I mean, every single Monday something magical was happening. When Sting came out of the rafters for the first time, that was a gigantic moment. The first time Steve Austin said, "You guys got your Bible verses, and I got it. Austin 3:16 says." I mean, that's a gigantic day. Whenever The Rock left, what was that?
The Nation of Domination.
Yeah, whenever he left and went on his own and became like the most hilarious heel in the history of wrestling. I mean, all those gigantic moments were just huge moments in my childhood. And but Sable with the black painted hands on her titties is definitely the first thing I recall.
So I got a question for you. You were talking about The Rock leaving Nation of Domination, becoming a hilarious heel. When you were growing up, were you fans of the heels? Were you fans of the faces? Who were your favorites?
Always liked the bad guy. Always loved the bad guy. But I think the reason why The Rock is the best heel of all time and he kind of set the tone for heels forever, is if you're such a good bad guy, people have to love you. That's the heel you want to be. That's what I'm working with Rip right now. Rip Rogers, he makes me practice promos and stuff. It makes me switch from babyface to heel to babyface to heel. And it's just one of those things where if you're a good enough heel, you can become loved. You're a good enough bad guy that you're so hilarious that you become loved. That's the dream in my eyes. You always want to be the bad guy you're like a lovable asshole. And I think that's what I've been described as literally since I popped out of my mother's vagina in 1987.
Yeah, kind of the anti-hero vibes, Steve Austin.
Exactly. Everything like that. The lovable asshole is what you should strive to be. It's right above dickhead, right below hero, lovable asshole. It's the perfect place to live, and I think I've really found my groove in there.
Yeah, what's your current, because you are training now, and that's what a lot of people have been writing to us, and they're like, you got to get Pat on because he's been training. He wants to be a pro wrestler. So what is your schedule looking like? How are you balancing out the promos and the in-ring stuff and all of it?
So we go, last week I was on vacation, and this week I'm doing this Pro-Am in West Virginia, so we got these 2 weeks off. But I'm going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. every single morning. We're in the ring for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we do like 20 to 30 minutes of promo work. So I'm going 3 times a week, just trying to figure it all out. The first day I got my ass kicked, and I'm really getting my ass kicked every single day. But it's so much fun to learn and kind of figure out. And because when you're a fan of something for so long, and then you find out the working and why it happens, it's a really cool experience. And Rip Rogers has been such an incredible coach for me. That's why he's respected by so many people. I mean, when the WWE came to Indianapolis last week, he was taking pictures with everybody that knows him and respects him in the business, from Randy Orton to Dolph Ziggler to literally everybody. It's just, he's such a good coach. He yells at me. He's not very respectful to me at all, but I mean, it's an awesome guy to learn from. It's been a blast, and I think I'm getting pretty fucking good at it too.
Yeah, it seems like it from the videos I've seen. Like, you're really bumping your ass off. Have you thrown up yet? In the video, it looked like you came close, but when I trained for a summer, and I threw up quite a few times from blow-up drills.
I get blown up a lot, and I get tired a lot. I mean, I chose to punt and kick because I was sick of running. So, I mean, running is not my forte, but I have good lungs. You know, I have good lung capacity. But even in all my drinking escapades, which I've drank a lot in my life, my body doesn't puke a lot. It's not a quitter. If it goes in, it stays in. But with wrestling, I've dry heaved probably on 4 different occasions, but my body doesn't like letting things out. I mean, it's like a black hole. If it gets in there, it's staying there. So I haven't fully puked, but I've definitely got to the point where I should have a few times.
Yeah.
Have you heard from any promotions yet who might be interested in putting you on a card once your training's complete?
Everybody and their fucking mom. Everybody and their mom. Every indie wrestler across America wants to wrestle me, which I respect and appreciate. But as soon as anybody heard that I was training for this, everybody wants me to wrestle. I just want to get good at it first, so whenever I do a splash off the top rope, I don't miss the table and blow a finale and almost break my fucking neck. I want to be really, really good whenever I get in there, so that the WWE Universe or whoever I'm wrestling with has enough trust and faith in me that we can really put on a good show. Because at the end of the day, that's what wrestling is. It's just a good show. And I want to be a great entertainer when I get in there. So, yes, everybody has reached out to me, wanting me to get into it. I want to get good first before I take the next step.
I could absolutely respect that, especially for the people you're stepping in the ring with. You know, your life is put in your opponent's hand when you're stepping into this squared circle. So it's very respectful that you don't want to go into it right away like a lot of people in your position probably would. What are you watching right now to kind of take inspiration and watching tape-wise? Are you going back to the old stuff? Are you watching current wrestling? Are you watching independent promotions? What is your watching schedule looking like?
So I've actually been watching a lot of Rip Rogers' old matches on YouTube, kind of watching him work with Macho Man Randy Savage's brother back in the day, kind of learning about all the territories, the old school traditional good technique stuff. fundamentally sound things. I'll watch Monday Night Raw every Monday and SmackDown on Tuesday. I loved keeping up with the G1 USA tweets the other day while I was traveling back to America. But really, I have the WWE Network subscription, and I think I've watched every single piece of content they have on there. I want to see how things are run backstage. I want to watch the business side of the geniuses of Vince McMahon and Triple H and all the shit that they do. I'm just trying to learn everything I possibly can about the business. So if I ever do get a shot, I execute and take advantage of the opportunity. So I'm watching everything from old school stuff, old school promos from back in the day when The Rock and Mankind and Stone Cold and Stinger, all those people were cutting incredible promos. And even now, I like the way The Miz talks a lot. Like, I enjoy the way he speaks. I think John Cena, before he left, before his match with The Miz, he was cutting some of the greatest promos he's done in a long time. So I'm watching everything that I really can get my hands on right now because, like I said, I'm trying to be really good so that we can put on a great show, so that the person I'm wrestling with can respect me, and also so that the business or whatever company I go to or lets me in to wrestle has faith in me that they can put some responsibility on my shoulders so I can really put on a good show.
Yeah, and I know that you said you were working on, your promos already, but, as you sort of graduate from training and work into, like, the independents and hopefully the WWE someday, do you think that you'll be able to shed the whole former NFL punter turned Barstool sports blogger turned pro wrestler as like a gimmick? Or are you just going to own that? Or are you going to try to have a gimmick that's completely different from any of that?
No, I've worked my ass off to be me my entire life. I don't think I'll have a gimmick. I will be Pat McAfee. I'm very proud of everything I've done. I'm very proud of the hard work I've put in. I'm proud of the family I've come from. And to be honest, I am a professional wrestler in real life. When I speak in promos. Ever since I was a kid, I was such a big fan. I mean, people hated me from other schools. I was a heel for a while. I was loved by people. I was a face for a while. I don't ever want to lose my history of being the greatest punter to ever step foot onto a football field, to having one of the best podcasts on earth, to having a group of friends that are fantastic and a family that I've taken care of. I never, ever want to lose that. So I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I don't think I'm a good enough actor when it comes to speaking to act like I'm anybody else. I'm excited today I'm excited for the day to finally find my home and where my personality is supposed to be, which is in a wrestling organization.
When you look at a lot of independent wrestlers, they'll some speak publicly about it, some just keep it private, but they'll make 5-year plans for themselves. And, I want to be here in 5 years. If I'm not here in 5 years, I'll quit. If that happens, that. Do you have a 5-year plan? Is the end of your 5-year plan Pat McAfee is in the WWE?
5 years from now, I might be dead. My plan right now is to continue to build up Barstool Heartland so that my friends can eat well, and to train my ass off with Rip Rogers 3 times a week, and then whatever happens, happens. If in 5 years I'm a professional wrestler and Barstool Heartland is doing well and Barstool Sports is taking over the world, I think that's the dream. But I don't put a time limit on anything. I just kind of assume that everything will work out how it's supposed to. Everything will work out in a manner that's best, because that's really the only option. And that's honestly all I think about. I'm in a much different situation. I don't have to worry about, I'll go broke at some point. That's going to happen. But I have taken care of everybody I have to take care of. I have no debt to anybody except for the contractor that just built our Barstool Heartland office. So I'm in a pretty good spot. I'll just let things kind of handle themselves,
And you talked about, obviously being true to yourself as a character, and being like a heel that is basically a baby face in terms of your character. But whose in-ring style are you most trying to emulate with the finished product?
You know what? I'm not sure, because training with Rip is a very the whole headlock thing that took off because Randy Orton promoted it, and it was really true. You watch any indie wrestler thing, everybody's diving and flying, but I think you need some high spots, especially in the world that we live in that lacks attention. there's not a lot of attention spans that last long if there's not something magical happening. So I respect the new age of wrestling where there's a lot of flying and high flying and this and that. But I do love the old Triple H cerebral assassin, the way The Rock used to operate, Stone Cold, the methodical build-up, good story in the ring. I enjoy that a lot. But I used to be able to do a standing backflip like 3 years ago. I'm hoping to get back into that. I'm pretty athletic as well, so I'm not scared to fly around a little bit. I think Seth Rollins is a beautiful work of art whenever he's flying around. He looks like a legit gymnast whenever he's jumping off his stuff and flipping. So I don't mind flying around a bit. I think Dolph Ziggler is a great worker in the ring. I think the way he sells is impressive. I miss the old headlock headstand he used to do. I wish he would still do that a little bit. But for me, I kind of like the old school brawler, couple high spots, and maybe add in some flair from the modern day wrestling age.
And are you thinking ring gear? Are you thinking finishers, or is that just too far in the distance and you're focused on fundamentals? Or is that because when I was training, I was instantly thinking of here's what my name will be, here's what my finisher will be, here's my gimmick, here's my ring gear.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my finisher since I was 13 years old.
Is it a kick?
Sweet chin. Yes, I have the strongest leg in the history of the world, Robbie. I kick a soccer ball 124 miles an hour. I kick a 75-yard field goal from sea level. It has to be a kick for sure. Shorts and a tank top, definitely. White shoes, ankles taped with probably black tape. And the music is going to have to be something that we create all by ourselves. But yeah, I mean, I've had the dream of walking out onto that stage wearing jorts, tank top, ankles taped, whole place going crazy, open mic in a side of arena, walking down, putting on an incredible show with the guy I'm wrestling with for the crowd, and ending it with the $1 million kick. And I think that'll probably be how it plays, unless Vince McMahon says, yeah, no. I mean, that's probably how I see it going.
Yeah, making a kick your finisher, it makes a lot of sense as the greatest punter to ever step on the field. And you were pretty humble with saying that you're pretty athletic. I would say Pat McAfee, the Pro Bowl punters, is pretty athletic. Yes, that's very true.
I'd say I'm averagely athletic. I think that'll help out a lot. I think with this new knees I just got some new knees. I had another surgery, which is really, they took out a chunk of cartilage out of my knee that's been floating around in there for 4 or 5 years. So it makes me feel a lot better. I mean, I'm jumping higher than I ever was, running faster than I ever was running before. So I feel real good. But yeah, I'm just trying to go in there and not be an asshole, basically.
So I cover baseball for Barstool, and I had a favorite baseball player growing up as a kid, but I found that now that I'm 28 and covering the sport professionally, it's weird to have a favorite baseball player. Do you find it the same, being, obviously you grew up as a kid loving wrestling, and now that you're going to get involved in the business, do you think it would be weird to have a favorite wrestler, or do you have one?
Well, Mr. Perfect was my favorite.
That's a good pick. I didn't expect that pick. I like that pick a lot.
Well, anybody who knows me expects that pick. I think anybody who's been around me on a daily basis expects Mr. Perfect to be my favorite. I'm a big fan of his swagger. I even used to spit out my gum and punt it like Mr. Perfect did with his gum, even though he hit it with his hand. But my favorite has always been Triple H. He's always been my favorite, mostly because we both have huge noses, we both look alike, and I've been called him forever. I enjoy the way Triple H has been able to bounce from character to character. I mean, he from DX, which was a complete business-changing operation, which it still happens to this day, to whenever he was the King of Kings and Super Serious. I mean, he's been a bad guy. He's had the sledgehammer. He's been the hilarious guy. And now he's running the show at NXT, which is doing a great job. I just think he's a talented person. But if I'm looking at the WWE right now, my favorite is Randy Orton. He's such a cool dude. He's incredibly attractive. Let's not act like we're above that. He's a good-looking human. And also, he's a great wrestler. In the RKO, little takeoff of the Diamond Cutter is an incredible finisher that I really enjoy watching.
So we're trying to ask everyone that we have as a guest. The final question we're looking for is an obscure match recommendation, a match that you like that maybe a lot of people haven't seen before. Do you have an obscure match recommendation for our listeners? And just because I'm interested, do you have a favorite match of all time?
I think Triple H The Rock was a good set of series there. I think that was an incredible run there whenever they were going at it. Obviously, Stone Cold and The Rock was a fun run. That Attitude Era produced so much incredibly entertaining things. I mean, good wrestling, good selling, good storylines, all that shit I enjoyed a lot. My boy Baron Corbin is blowing up really fast. I just want him to keep on moving and keep going forward. Dream matchup in the WWE right now or just forever?
I guess you could do dream matchup ever. I said do you have a favorite match of all time though, like one match that sticks out or no?
Well, yeah, you said that, and then you said a dream match. Did you not say a dream? I just said the Triple H The Rock series was great. Anytime in the Attitude Era was fantastic. But are you talking like a dream match now that I would want to see? Because you asked that question as well. A dream match now that I
didn't
would
ask that,
see,
but now I'm very interested. Yeah, dream match that you'd want to see. Yeah.
Did you not ask that?
Did not. No.
I think you're going to listen back and hear that you did ask that. I think you're going to give yourself a lot more credit for asking an awesome question.
We can. I wish that I came up with that question. That was a good one.
I'm not sure though. That's really put my mind in a pretzel here. I really don't know. Elias Sampson went to my high school and is friends with Nick Moraldo, who works for Barstool Heartland. So I'm happy he's getting some push. I like his kind of pissed off mentality they have him going. His song singing is really, really good. I don't know why he gets booed so much. I don't know. I don't know the dream matchup I'm looking for right now. I have no idea, actually. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton could produce some great shit, but they've already done that. I don't know. I like the way Bray works, by the way, too. Incredible speaker.
He's a good speaker.
I don't know the dream matchup. That's a great question. You did ask that question, and it's a great question. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate the compliment on the interviewing skills.
Hey, no problem. I understand how this goes. Sometimes you need a little ball rub too. I get it. I do a
of
lot
course,
of
yeah.
Somebody compliment me.
I give you some,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
give me some. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a fun little thing we got going here.
Very fun. Thank you for joining us on this 5th of July edition of From the Top Rope. Maybe me and Jared are going to have to get out to Indianapolis and do a little Tough Enough with Rip Rogers soon, huh?
I don't know if you want that. I'm being serious. He is a menacing. You know how I said I'm a lovable asshole? That's what I'm shooting to be?
Yep.
Rip Rogers is completely okay being an asshole. Not lovable at all. Completely asshole, but he is lovable with how assholish he is, if that makes sense. It's a lot of fun. You need to come out to the barn. And a lot of people I'm assuming you're talking to on the show want a chance to be the WWE champion. And that's kind of like the business telling you that you're the man. I never want to be that. If it happens, it happens. All I want to be is the United States champion. I want to walk from Maine to the southern tip of Florida, all the way to Southern California and the northwestern tip of Washington, all the towns in between. I want to walk into their diners and bars and tell them, you are looking at the baddest man walking America. Pat McAfee, you're United States champion.
Wow.
I hope you do it. I hope you
mean,
do. I've never heard anyone with aspirations of going to the WWE being like, listen, I don't want to be the champion. I want to be the United States champion.
That's a tough call out to Kevin Owens, our boy.
True. Also true. That would be a dream match.
Kevin Owens, there's another. I can't believe I forgot about him. I met him when he came out to Indianapolis. There's another great guy. They got a lot of really good guys working. I'm excited for the future of the WWE right now.
Me too. I think the whole future of the business is looking up right now. It's a great time.
Well, especially with Pat McAfee in it. All right, you guys have a great one. I'll
You
talk
too,
to you
Pat.
later.
Thanks.
All right, see you, Pat.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to thank Pat McAfee for coming on with us this week. That was I like the direction that we're taking the interviews because we're going to have WWE active roster. We're going to have New Japan. We're going to have Ring of Honor. And even just someone like Pat McAfee, who's just a diehard wrestling fan like us, who's currently training to be a professional wrestler. I mean, I enjoyed that interview a lot because I always like to just talk to people who just love professional wrestling. But it's a completely different experience from watching it at home to buying a fucking wrestling ring to put in your barn and then hire one of the best pro wrestling coaches in the world to go in there and train you. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally gonna take that invite up. Like, we're going.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to go. We're gonna do a Tough Enough type thing with Rip Rogers. Pat McAfee, he's just a lunatic. He's an absolute lunatic. You gotta love the guy, but he's a maniac.
Yes, I mean, but in a good way.
And yeah, of course, in a great way. Pat McAfee, absolute lunatic. Gotta love him. Maniac. Any other synonym you could use to describe him. We're using it with love for our coworker. Of course, this has been week 4. Follow us on Twitter @FromTheTop. Follow us on Instagram FromTheTop. Email us at FromTheTop@BarstoolSports.com. And, of course, subscribe on iTunes, rate us on iTunes, review us on iTunes.